Hello, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back. This is Force, and here today I want to talk a little bit more about The Division. In this video, I'd like to cover 5 things that I think you should know. So I'm someone who played the crap out of the beta, basically maxing it out. I got the highest end weapons and gear, did all the PvE, and explored all of the Dark Zone that was available to us. And I'm still looking forward to this game. At the same time, I know that this won't be a game for everyone, and that's actually kind of the purpose behind this video, is to break down some, I think, key features of this title, and to let you make that decision if this is going to be a game for you. These are definitely major aspects of the title that I think could make or break whether or not somebody likes this game. So without further ado, let's cover the 5 things I think you need to know about The Division in no particular order. There's just happens to be 5 of them. Number 1 is that this game is a loot game, and then a shooter. Now, yes, your aim is important. If you get headshots or attack weak points on heavily armored targets, it's gonna help. But your gear and your perks and your stats are more important. You could get non-stop headshots, but if it's with a level 1 worn pistol, you're not gonna be nearly as effective as with a max level high-end sniper rifle. That's an extreme example, but it helps exemplifies what the core principle of this game is. Stats, numbers, and those numbers get higher when you get better gear, higher level gear, gear of a higher rarity. Same thing again goes for your weapons, and whether or not you pick the right perks and talents to increase your damage, or utility, or whatever it is you decide to do. Loot and the corresponding interaction with characters is the focal point of this game. If you're just hoping around to go around with your sidearm and get headshots and one-shot all of the NPCs in this game, it's not going to happen. There is a treadmill of acquiring gear, be it through PvE, crafting, or PvP, and as you climb that treadmill, you get stronger and stronger, and the enemies you're taking out get easier and easier. That is the loop of this title, and that's what you have to know going into it. If you were just hoping for straight up military third-person shooter, ultra realism, that's not really what this is going to be. So that's the first thing. The second thing I think you guys should know is to expect to PvP, or miss out on about a third of the game. So the way this game is structured is we've got the outside quarters of the map that is PvE focused. You can do this by yourself or with friends. And then the center strip that's in red, that is the PvP zone, and that takes up about a third of the total landmass of what we'll be seeing in The Division at launch. So while you could certainly, as far as we know, avoid going into PvP, much if at all, you're going to be missing out on a huge chunk of the game. And that means a lot of the time that they spent developing behind this game was focused on that section of it. So PvP is clearly a big part of what The Division is going to be about. When you step into that dark zone, expect to either get shot by other players or do some shooting yourself. And if that's something that you don't like in games, if you don't like that element of my character attacking or being attacked by other real people, and you just want to PvE, you can do that. We've been told that you can get equivalent best gear in the game through crafting, as well as the PvE elements. But again, you'll still be missing out on about a third of this game's content. There has been such a huge focus on the Dark Zone. This is clearly a big deal for them. So just bear that in mind. And this brings us on to our third point, which is that PvP will never be fair. So I've had a lot of people in my prior videos, either talking about the Dark Zone, talking about the rogue system, or showing off instances in which I engage in it, complain about fairness and backstabbing and you're a terrible person and this, I hate this system. There will never be fair PvP in this game, in the Dark Zone, from how it's built right now. Now, if they eventually implement a matchmaking arena-style system where all gear and weapons are normalized, then we would see fair PvP. But let me tell you why in the Dark Zone, it will never be fair. So first of all, there's numbers. If you're not in a group of 4, you'll always be outnumbered. And even if you are in a group of 4, you could be outnumbered. But if you're a solo player, there's not going to be any instance, except on the rare occasion you stumble across a single other player, where the numbers work in your favor. And then we encounter gear, level, which there'll be level brackets, but there will still be a level range up until max level, where that makes a difference. Latency, whether or not my internet connection is better than your internet connection, innately makes my job of killing you a lot easier. And then there's also the circumstances. You know, so many people were saying, oh, you shot that guy in the back. It's like, well, what did you expect us to do? Count down from 10? That's probably not going to happen. I played a lot of Dark Zone. I never encountered a situation where someone anticipating on going rogue said, hey, buddy, I'm going to shoot you. Let's count down from 10 and be pointed at each other to make it as fair as possible. Because then you know what the subsequent conversation would be. But wait a second. Before we do that countdown, what kind of weapon do you have? What level is that? What rarity? What are your stats? How much health do you have? How much firearms? Which skills are you using? What perks have you selected? Although that wasn't in the beta. Oh, what's your internet latency? What's your ping right now? It's never going to be fair, plain and simple. So if you don't like that, if you don't like my second thing, which was expect to PvP or miss out on a third of the game, if you concede to, okay, I'll PvP, but then your follow-up is, well, I want to make sure the PvP is fair, it's just not going to happen. That is not how this game is structured, with the fact that it's loot-based, different stats, different weapons, different levels, and then it's just never going to be fair. You're never going to get someone to count down from 10 before they shoot you, and if you do, that's going to be a once-in-a-blue-moon strange thing that you two weirdos decided to do together. But yes, just keep that in mind before you play The Division. The fourth thing that I want to talk about is that the endgame is still kind of a big question mark. So what they've come out and said is that, yes, we are going to have a big focus on the Dark Zone. Once you hit level 30, the Dark Zone will be repopulated, assumingly with level 30 enemies. Maybe we'll have like super elites that are level 31, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you've got the different type of enemies, red health, purple health, yellow health, which indicate their toughness basically and the amount of armor that they have. And they've talked about PvE side of things, and basically there's going to be this high-end hard challenge mode version of all of the dungeons. It's my understanding that we'll have normal, hard, and challenge. So 3 different versions of all of the, not dungeons, but missions. These story missions equate to dungeons in this game. You go through various parts of a area, and you end up fighting a final boss and getting some loot. So there's going to be a high-end level 30 version of all of those. But besides that, we don't really know. There's been sort of talk of possibly having 12-man raids, but nothing's been confirmed. So as it stands right now, going through the Dark Zone at a max level version of it and doing challenge versions of the story missions are what we're going to be looking at for Endgame. And I say that there's still a question mark because there's still a question mark as to whether or not that's going to be adequate to keep people playing continuously. And there's probably some of you out there who don't feel like you need to play continuously, but I think for those of us who have enjoyed the game and would like it to be something that we're playing for months on end, we would like that to be the case. Because if it's not the case, those challenge missions could become a non-thing after a month once we've gotten all of our high-end and superior gear. And again, I know that the people who like playing these games, they want to continue to be able to play them. And it is unrealistic to expect infinite content, but to have some semblance of replayability that adds longevity is, I think, ultimately what a lot of us are looking for. And while we're on the topic of the PvE endgame progression stuff, that brings us to point number 5, which is that you're shooting humans in this game, and that's it. Unless they have some big major surprise of aliens coming from the sky or zombies coming from the ground, we're just shooting other people. Now, I talked about this in a past video, and a lot of people got really upset, but I don't think I drove home the point that I wanted to, which was, I don't have a problem with just fighting humans. My biggest concern is what that means for boss variety. We've seen no indication that we're going to ever be fighting any vehicles like a helicopter or tank. And again, if it's just humans, we're not going to get any big monstrosities like you could envision and imagine with a zombie or alien situation. And again, I don't want or necessarily care to have zombies or aliens in the game, but having those fantastical elements tends to lead to the option for more diverse and interesting boss fights. And that's what I would like, because based on what we saw in the beta, which admittedly is just a beta, just the early portion of the game, so they could come out of left field and completely rewrite the script. But every boss fight that I had was basically the same. Mechanics may have well not existed. I just stand at a distance and shoot it until that yellow health bar goes all the way down to 0. Now, one of the bosses I had to shoot an explosive tank, and the other one I just had to go for headshots and avoid his heavy suppressive LMG fire. But those aren't even really mechanics. I mean, they are, but it's so simplistic, it's so basic, it's far from interesting or challenging. One of the things I loved about Destiny, say what you will about the game, is that between its strikes and the raids, they made some interesting boss fights with phases and mechanics. And what we've seen so far doesn't appear to have it. It's all mostly going to be stand at a distance until that yellow health bar goes to 0. Phases, mechanics, different interesting things just haven't been presented to us. I certainly hope I'm wrong. I hope that in the later missions, i.e. dungeons, in these later missions, they have got multiple phase boss fights that are interesting. Say you take away all of the boss's armor, and then he runs back and suits up and fills the room with poisonous gas, and you've got to stand on certain tiles or something. I just want something more interesting than stand far away and shoot it till it reaches 0. Whether or not it has an LMG, a sniper rifle, a flamethrower, or rushes at you with a pistol, doesn't really make much of a difference. That's not enough to make the combat that much more interesting. So yeah, no, I don't really care about zombies or aliens. What I ultimately care about is interesting boss fights with mechanics that have us, that challenge us, really. Challenge us beyond this thing has a lot of health, and if you get hit too much, you'll die. That's what I'm hoping for, that's what I'm looking for, and that will do it for this video, talking about 5 things that I think you should know about The Division. As a quick recap, this is a loot game first, a shooter second. Expect to PvP. That PvP will never be fair. We still have some questions about the end game, and we're shooting nothing but humans. So what does that mean for our boss fights? Alright guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Coming up this week, we're going to have a few more Division videos. I've got a few interesting ideas for some guides. And as much as I may criticize or express concern about this game, it's a game that I'm really looking forward to. And that criticism always comes from a place of, I would like this to be as good as it could be, and here are some possible kinks in the armor that I hope that they address. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all have a fantastic afternoon, and until next time, I'll see you later.